Post. Reset. Arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. Post. Right. Face. Forward. March.
Okay, you may be seated. Roll call.
Al,
I'm present
Teresa,
physically.
Present. Michelle,
Here.
Kate. Here. Gladys.
Here.
Dr. Cronin. Lauren. Here. Anita.
Here.
Rich.
Here.
Julie. Here.
Okay. Thank you. Public participation.
The board welcomes public participation and asks that speakers please limit their comments to 3 minutes. Speakers may either offer objective comments of school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any expression of personal complaints or defamatory comments about Board of Education personnel and students, nor against any person connected with the Danbury Public School System.
I need a motion to accept the consent calendar.
I make the motion.
Motion made by Al. Did you read the consent calendar? Did you read the entire motion?
I make the motion that the Board of Education approve the consent calendar exhibits 24-169 through 24-173 as recommended.
Motion made by Al, second by Kate. All those in favor of the motion, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion so carried. Do we have our educational staff here to represent tonight?
Good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight to provide an update on some of the positive initiatives taking place across our district, highlighting the incredible work our principals and staff are doing to foster welcoming and supportive school environments. Promoting a positive school climate has been a key priority at all levels, and I'm excited to share some of the ways our schools are celebrating student achievements, enhancing collaboration, and creating inclusive spaces for learning and growth. From elementary to high school, we are seeing meaningful efforts to ensure every student feels recognized and supported. At all levels across the district, principals have been working hard to create positive school climates through a variety of initiatives. Many schools are focusing on celebrating students who demonstrate strong attendance, embody core values, and contribute to a positive school environment. These celebrations, whether through recognition ceremonies, Student of the Month programs, or fun activities like Breakfast of Champions, are helping to build a culture of achievement and belonging. In addition to student recognition, schools are engaging staff through collaborative activities, spotlighting the experience and skills of better teachers and fostering teamwork among newer educators. Restorative practices such as morning circles are being implemented to strengthen relationships and address conflicts benefiting both students and staff. At the K-8 level, we're putting into practice all of the great strategies we learned and planned for in our PBIS team's training during last year. At the high school level, we're seeing a continued focus on promoting sportsmanship, tolerance, and respect among students with recognition from external organizations for these efforts. The use of core values, PBIS strategies, and restorative practices has led to noticeable improvements in student behavior, engagement, and overall morale across the district. These efforts show a deep commitment to creating an inclusive, supportive, and celebratory atmosphere for both students and staff at every school in the district, led by the dedicated administrators in collaboration with teachers and support staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any of our students here tonight? Yes.
Good evening, Board of Ed members, cabinet, and community members. Thank you for allowing me to represent and speak on behalf of the Alternative Center for Excellence. On Friday, September 27th, ACE held its annual beginning of the year community building day at Hatters Park. The day started in a whole school circle led by John and Anthony. Next, guidance groups engaged in team building activities and challenges like the human knot, the hula hoop pass, the ski walk, the tower of power, and guidance pyramid pictures. Lunch was hamburgers and hot dogs from the grill, and after lunch, students had time to interact with each other, make dream catchers, and our ACE scarecrow for City Center Danbury, or play in a kickball game. It was a great day to build our community and forge new friendships. ACE held its Humanities Department grade level benchmark on Wednesday, October 2nd. The ACE Humanities Department has created a benchmark Schoology classroom that the entire student body participates in based on your highest grade level in English and social studies. Thank you, ACE Humanities Department, for all your diligent work on this school-wide learning activity. The benchmark process takes place during a 4-hour block, and students will have an opportunity to demonstrate their skill level with regards to their task. After the benchmarks are completed, ACE offered enrichment flexes for students and staff. It was a great day filled with both hard work and team building. The first ACE Parents Night was held on Tuesday, October 1st at 6 p.m. Parents and students began the evenings together to hear about upcoming events and school goals for the 2024-2025 school year. After the parents and students had the opportunity to follow their student schedule and meet with ACE staff.
On Monday, October 7th, a small group of Tatia's environmental science classes visited our Memorial Conversation Center to attend rare and remarkable program aimed at teaching students about endangered or threatened species local to Connecticut, and those that are of special concern. Students participated in games and activities geared to identify species as well as working with small teams to simulate what would happen if a few species become extinct or whole numbers decline. A letter to Governor Lamont was drafted to ask and keep local species in mind when making policies in our state, especially regarding those which are already in decline. Students and staff had the option to sign if they wanted to. On Friday, October 18th, Melissa, Daniela, and DJ will be taking ACE students to the Dodge Poetry Festival. Students will have the opportunity to experience live poets and spoken word, as well as participate in writing workshops and meet with great well-known poets and writers. ACE will be administrating our school-wide PSAT for 9th, 10th, and 11th graders on Wednesday, October 16th. A special thanks to Kyle and Diana for their hard work and planning ahead. On this day, our seniors will be transported to DHS to participate in senior activities occurring on that day. After senior activities at DHS, the ACE seniors will return to ACE for guest speaker Scott Barrow from Naugatuck Valley Community College, who will be speaking to the administration process of 2025 graduating seniors. And our last one is during our flex time led by Daniela, Diana, and Melissa. The students at ACE are creating dream catchers to bring to Praxair, the cancer center at Danbury Hall. This is the 5th ACE Care School project with Praxair. These dream catchers will have kind and encouraging student-written messages for the cancer patients, caregivers, and staff to read. We plan to deliver these dream catchers on Thursday, October 31st. Once delivered, they will decorate the waiting room at Praxair. Thank you for allowing us to share what is going on at our ACE family, and have a nice evening. Stay healthy and remain ACE strong.
Thank you for coming here and giving us your agenda for ACE. First of all, before you leave, I would like for you to identify yourself so we could all hear your names, okay? And I know it's not easy getting up and you want to just say what you want to say and sit down. But we want to be able to know your name when you come up before us. So,
Okay. My name is Ariana West, and I am a senior at ACE.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
My name is Ollie Stabell, and I am a junior at ACE.
Nice to meet you and thank you again.
Thank you.
So, before we move on in the agenda, and we had a donation here, and it was part of the consent calendar, and I would just like for that donation to be read out loudly, and we accepted that donation. But I think it's very well-being that we acknowledge someone when they send some and do something for our children in our school system. So, Louisa, would you read the donation?
We accepted a donation of $14,000 for the Richard J. Moore family for the installation of a new scoreboard at Danbury High School.
Okay. Thank you, Louisa. We'll move on down the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. We have public participation. Michelle, Michael, sorry.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time today. So my name is Michael Nero and my wife Daniela Nero. Lifelong Connecticut residents, lived in Danbury for the last 13 years. I have two daughters that go to the Danbury school system. My oldest is a sophomore in high school, high honors, top 20, and I just have to commend the job that Danbury High School does, and very appreciative of that. But for today, I just wanted to bring forth some concerns I had for my other daughter, Chloe Nero. She's in the 7th grade at Broadview Middle School, Cluster 4. Just to give you some background on my daughter, she's driven. She is a high honor student. And I'll give you the example that what she did last year. She did a project on natural disasters for fire. When I was in middle school, probably wait till the last minute to do it. She started working on it the first day. She started working on the first day, spent 3 hours a day, probably 15 hours total. Did a fantastic job, earned 100 science points. Where my concerns lie is we're about 40 days into the school year, plus or minus, and she's without a science teacher. So she's had subs, mix and matching, handing in documents, kids playing your phone, things like that. We brought forth our concerns to the administration. We met both virtually, in person, open house. Most recently, I sent an email with my recommendations, because I'm not getting solutions, related to, so I sent that to the vice principal, the superintendent, and the mayor about 10 days to go. Not expecting an immediate response, but still waiting for that response. But I just want to bring forth my concerns, because I don't want to fail my daughter. And I do appear to feel that if I don't take action, it could be a failure of my daughter. As administration, we're failing her and everybody else in those classes. So I just wanted to provide that feedback.
We just like to say, we don't dialogue back and forth with you, but we appreciate you bringing your concern for your child to the board. So the superintendent will have someone contact you and get the information that she needs to sort of work out this program. Okay?
No, just
And
trying
thank
to
you.
do our best.
Thank
You
you.
know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to address the board? Seeing, yes.
In connection with the, we didn't have a representative from the Danbury High School. I learned, I think, 1 week.
No, they don't, they come the second.
Oh, the second.
We have the second
But
meeting.
isn't there a week coming, like a restaurant week, where the money is going to part of the, was it PTO or the high school?
Yes, it's like restaurant month or something like that.
Isn't it this month?
One night a week. Is it this week? Yeah, sorry. It's this whole week. So like it's different restaurants you can eat at and they donate a percentage back to the high school.
I thought that was important.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mia, that's your turn.
All right. Okay, good evening. Just go in here. You okay? Okay, good. Okay, this evening we'd like to welcome Melissa Hannequin up. You want to come on up and get situated? Ken will get your mic going. Melissa is the executive director of the Danbury Collective. This has been a really important work group for our school system, members of our school system, but also local organizations around town who are building sort of a coalition of the willing to help chip away at some big issues that are kind of persistent for the school community and also community at large. So I will turn it over to Melissa and she'll go over the work that the collective is engaging in. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just test this out. Okay, great. Well, good evening, everyone, board, community members. I'm so happy to be here. Again, as Dr. Casanova stated, my name is Melissa Hannequin. I'm Executive Director of the Danbury Collective. We are a new-ish organization as of the last year that has launched here in Danbury. And I want to just share a little bit about the work we've been doing and also extend an invitation to the board members as well as community members to get involved in the work we're doing. So if I can have you direct your attention to the screen, I have a presentation that will help give some visuals for some of the work that we're doing. So I'm going to get through the material pretty concisely, so I just want to start at the beginning. If there's anything that I'm going through too quickly or that you have questions about, you can definitely reach out to me. We also have this presentation included in the agenda, and we also have it on our website. Okay, so what is the Danbury Collective? We are a nonprofit cradle-to-career collective impact organization. That means that we are focusing on improving outcomes for young people from cradle, when they're born, and really before, in the prenatal stage, supporting families, all the way up to career and whatever young people are doing when they are done with high school and moving on to the next stage in their life. We are a collective impact organization, which means that we follow a model for community organization called collective impact, which means that we believe in bringing together stakeholders from our community and allowing community members to co-create solutions to the challenges we see in our community. Collective impact means, as you can probably tell from the words, it means that we're working collaboratively and collectively to make a difference. We fall under the United Way of Coastal and Western Connecticut. They serve as our backbone organization and support with many back-end operations. We believe that having them as our backbone is really helpful because they are a trusted organization here in Danbury and across coastal and Western Connecticut. We are also a new member of the National Strive Together Cradle to Career Network. This is a network of over 70 organizations across the country who are doing similar work to what we're doing here at Danbury Collective. And we are new members as of about 2 weeks ago, so that has been several months in the making, but we're really excited to join the community of 5 Cradle to Career Collective Impact organizations here in Connecticut. And the 5 of us do represent some of the largest cities here in Connecticut. We are independent of the public schools and the city of Danbury, but I always mention that we are in very close partnership with those institutions as well as with other nonprofit organizations and our community members here in Danbury. We know that it is so important for any grassroots effort to have a good relationship with those institutions. So we're really thrilled that over the last year we've been able to build that relationship and with many of the folks who are sitting in this room today. And finally, we are all about advancing equity by learning together, aligning and integrating our actions to achieve systems change. So we are really looking at the big picture of why our young people face challenges and what we can do to take a systems level approach to solve them. So just to state our mission, something that's really exciting about our mission and vision is that these were co-created with our community members. So this was part of a multi-month process where our community members who were engaged in the collective came together and thought really hard about what we wanted to stand for and what our goals would be. So our mission is led by the community. We work collectively to foster positive, measurable, and sustainable life outcomes for Danbury children, families, and young adults. And our vision of a perfect world is one in which all Danbury children, families, and young adults have full and equitable access to opportunities to be successful and thrive in life. So so we launched officially in November of 2023, but prior to that, there was a group of folks here in Danbury who came together and were doing a lot of the work on the back end to get us off the ground. And something that happened in that initial year was doing focus groups with parents, young people, and community members. We did a needs assessment to identify what the biggest priorities would be for our work, because as you can imagine, Cradle to Career Continuum is very large, and we can focus our efforts in many different places. But the 3 priorities you see up on the screen right now were selected by our community. And those are chronic absenteeism and learner engagement, early childhood education, and youth mental health. These are particularly important coming out of the COVID pandemic. That's something we heard a lot from parents. And so we just want to make sure that these are the 3 that we are prioritizing right now. That doesn't mean that we will always prioritize those, but we are all about being responsive to our community and changing as we need to. I'm going to skip through a little bit of the history and future, but this is all available again on our website and in the packet that you received as part of the agenda. I will pause here for just a highlight of some of the milestones that we have accomplished together. So right now we have over 50 individuals in Danbury who have signed our membership agreement. That means that they are publicly committed to the work we're doing, and that membership agreement is a way that to outline really what our priorities are and how we will work together as a community. So 50 people have signed on to that, and we also have over 130 individuals who are engaging with the Danbury Collective in some way, whether it be as a working group member, which are focused on those 3 topics I mentioned, or if they're receiving our newsletter and wanting to learn more. So some of the milestones I want to call out, because again, I'm here speaking on behalf of our collective. There are many voices there. We have our nonprofit partners, our city partners, schools partners, and most importantly, I would say, is our community member and parent partners who are coming and showing up every month in our working groups. They are telling us what they think, And so the milestones I'm sharing today are really on behalf of the good work that everyone has done together. I think it also demonstrates what's possible when we do work using a collective impact model. So I'll run through these pretty quickly, and then I want to open up for questions. So first of all, back in March of this year, we hosted a winter convening for all of our members, bringing together over 60 individuals to one night where we were learning about what collective impact is. We heard from some of our elected officials, joined working groups, and parents were able to voice their opinions in breakout groups. In May and leading into the summer, we were able to secure some additional funding from private and corporate family foundations. That is an ongoing effort that we are engaging in, as you can imagine, with nonprofit organizations. That's part of the work every day, supporting, finding those support systems. We also have joined the Connecticut Cradle to Career Coalition, which means we join our sister organizations, Bridgeport Prospers, Norwalk Acts, Stanford Cradle to Career, and Waterbury Bridge to Success. And in that coalition, we are very much focused on advocating for state-level policy and civic infrastructure that will benefit not just Danbury families, but also families across the state. We're also fortunate to be able to learn from those folks who have been doing this for 5, 10, 15 years while we are very new to it. In August, our Chronic Absenteeism and Learner Engagement Working Group published an attendance toolkit and parent brochure to support education on the importance of regular school attendance. One of our goals for that group is to contribute to reducing the percentage of students who are chronically absent in Danbury Public Schools. And our goal within the next 2 years is to reduce to the pre-COVID rates of 7-8% of students chronically absent. Of course, with the goal of getting to as low a number as possible. That toolkit is now out in the world, and there are a lot of ways that you as board members and our community members can share the information to ensure that all families feel supported in helping their children get to school every day and feel like they're going to a place that is welcoming and exciting to be at. And then finally, we, moving forward, we are really looking at building our infrastructure, getting more community and parent voice. Eventually, we want to get more youth voices. We had a really great opportunity in the last 2 months to host some youth conversations with about 20 young people in Danbury who shared with one of our foundation partners the importance of being connected and what their hopes and dreams are. We hope that the voices that our Danbury students shared will be elevated to the state level as the 19K Commission on Disconnected Youth just today released their report on what strategies we can take as a state to reconnect young people. And so we really are excited that Danbury young voices will be included in that conversation. So with that, my call to action for the group is to really spread the word about the work we're doing to parents and community members and to young people or students. We really want to make sure that we have a representative body of folks who are coming in, sharing their concerns. We know that people who are facing challenges oftentimes know the best way to solve those. And so we just really want to make sure we're bringing those people into our space. We strive for it to be a welcoming and inclusive space, a safe space. So that is my call to action. I also would encourage you all to take a look at our attendance toolkit so that you can also get very well versed in the language we're using around attendance. So with that, I'll stop, but I welcome any questions, and thank you again for the opportunity to speak today.
Where do we get the attendance toolkit information?
Yes, so I can share that. We also have it up on our website. Our website is hosted under the United Way of Coastal and Western Connecticut's website, but I can certainly share the link so that everyone has access to it. We do have the toolkit in 3 languages as well, English, Spanish, and Portuguese.
Mr. Janelle?
Yes. Hi. How do you get the message out to the general public as to what you're doing so that the work that you've done relative to at least one of the categories, the absenteeism, how is that given out to the general public and the parents, educating the parents that it's important to send the children to school, as well as the cultural differences that we have in Danbury? How do you meet those challenges?
Yeah, so we are building on the network networks of trusted messengers here in the community. So some of the communities that we have tapped into are the Community Messengers program out of United Way. We are also tapping into some of the Danbury Public Schools offerings to parents, including Parent C and PEP. So really tapping into what already exists. We know that the way that people get their information is from trusted neighbors and community members. So we as a collective really are reaching out through those avenues. In terms of the chronic absenteeism toolkit, we are doing targeted trainings with different groups. So over the summer, we did a group training with our full collective. We are also targeting coaches for sports leagues and activities. We are going to be doing a training with early childhood providers in 2 weeks. So if there is a group that you feel would benefit from receiving a direct training, we would be happy to come out and do that. We're also utilizing the train the trainer model, where we are equipping our members to go out and train their communities as well. In terms of our broader outreach with the collective, I'm excited to share that we are building our marketing. So we are just now on social media, so that we know that will be a place that we can leverage relationships and get the word out, and also with our local news organizations as well.
Thank you.
Julie?
I have a few questions, and it's based on what are the expectations that we should have based on the collective overall. I mean, when can we expect tangible results from the collective? That's one main question. I'm gonna say them all, so that's one. When you say you guys are being partnered with different organizations and you get this feedback from them, and you said you guys are training, how exactly, what is that base training that you guys are giving away based on absenteeism? Because I think that everybody has clear within Danbury Public Schools or within what you guys provide from the initial starting point, because I believe that this was something brought out last year, right? And we never got pretty much about. I know this is like a pretty much overview of everything, but I mean, I know that there's a lot of information and a lot of questioning. So when can we expect results from this? And I mean, all the like getting to train, I mean, those individuals within their collective, when parents will actually understand that this is important, or how you guys are contributing to that part for the Danbury Public School system.
Sure, thank you.
And I'm sorry for so
No,
much.
please, no, it's helpful. So I'm actually going to, oh, sorry, I think my presentation, I'm not sure if it's still available. I just wanted to show everyone what the brochure is that we've put out around chronic absenteeism. Because I do think that is one example of a tangible result that we have accomplished in that working group. So I will start by saying in our 3 working groups, we are really focused on first diagnosing what the issues are surrounding those topics. That includes those parent and youth focus groups. It includes discussion and bringing people into the conversation to make sure that we have everyone who's part of the ecosystem in Danbury. So that's kind of the first step. Our early childhood and mental health groups are in that stage right now. And so they're identifying what tangible results that they would like to see as a group. One thing with the youth mental health group that we are working on is producing an asset map, which would show anyone who's looking at it in Danbury, all of the different resources that exist for different topics. That was something we heard from a lot of our members, that it was really hard for parents and community members to navigate the many different resources that exist. I should say we 100% believe that there are amazing things happening in Danbury, and so our role is to really tap in and make sure that we're leveraging those things and bringing people together to make sure they're aware of them. In terms of chronic absenteeism, up on the screen right now is the brochure the first page of the brochure that we have published as a group. So just imagine it folded 3 times. The goal of this trifold, and it has been going out to students and families through the schools and through our partner organizations, the goal really is to first increase awareness. We want to make sure we're all speaking the same language around attendance because, like you mentioned, Rich, there are many different reasons why students might be chronically absent. And so we did, we wanted to make sure everyone's speaking the same language. So you'll see here in the middle, we have some language around who can support families and students. It might be obvious to some people who are reading it, but maybe not so obvious to others. So it really is, like you said, starting from a baseline. On the second page, we have some definitions around what chronic absenteeism is. We know that if a student is missing, 1 day or 2 days per month, it might not seem like a lot they're missing, but it adds up to what chronic absenteeism is, 18 days, 126 instructional hours. So this is just really putting it on paper, what the problem is and how we can support families. The final comment that I'll say, we are building our data infrastructure, which means we're working with our other partners in Bridgeport and Stanford to make sure that we are both collecting and analyzing data. Everything we do, as it was mentioned in our mission and vision, needs to be data driven. So we are looking into ways that we can build that infrastructure so we can actually track our outcomes. This group, for example, set very definitive goals around what we would like chronic absenteeism to look like in the next 2 years. So that group does have their numerical goals, but again, those other two working groups are defining what they'll do.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I have 2 more questions and I'll be on. And my apologies. When you approach, when you said that you are creating an awareness organization, I think that brought this to the board members, and last year I have kids also middle school age. Organizations such as dentists, doctors, they plan ahead on kids scheduling in the mornings. So these create absenteeism as well. So that's one question, if you have been able to address those issues within the organizations that provide these services to the community. That's one. And the other one is how can parents know the differences? Maybe this is something more for you, Ms. Dr. Casimiro. How will they know the difference about chronic absenteeism if they go ahead and they say, listen, I have a family emergency, or I'm going on vacation, or something came up and I'm going to be out for a week and I cannot leave my child alone. So will that fall in the same category? Or because I noticed that even though parents might go ahead, you get also the report card absent. So I don't know if there's a difference in there. Thank you. That would be all.
It's a good question. So an absence is an absence is an absence. So if you're missing school, you're missing hours, you're missing content. Not only is it challenging for the student to make that up, it's also challenging for the teacher to try to catch that student up as well, and it's disruptive for the classroom. So, one of the goals, and if you remember, this is one of our proposed goals for the board and the district as well, together, that we would promote the ideals of the collective. And what's so powerful about it is that, so it's not so much that Melissa herself is doing that work. She's creating the conditions for community agencies and groups to come together to talk about ways that we can strategize. How do we tap our assets that we already have in the community, and how do we align our messaging? So the chronic absenteeism group was kind of first out of the gate. So that group moved fairly quickly. They met often, and they were able to get together and create the messaging, the branding, and the common definition. So when we say chronic absenteeism, what does that mean? It doesn't count. I'm not intentionally keeping my child out of school. I'm going on vacation, and that's important to my family. Or I have to go visit family, or I have to go out of the country because this is the time of year that I need to do that. So the goal is to increase the awareness about the effects of that, in the hopes that maybe we make some different choices. Now, also, there could be some mitigating situations that a family's going through. Maybe they're having transportation issues. Maybe there's something going on at home. Part of our LEAP grant that we have right now, what's so crucial about that is that folks are making contact with, so if Teresa has been out already, it's the first month of school and she's been missing for 2 or 3 days, we're going to make contact with Teresa's parents and hopefully Teresa to make sure that there's nothing going on, to explain why this is so important, and that we really would like to see Teresa back in school as soon as possible because we don't want that to affect her learning. So it's really about creating the forum and the conditions for the community agencies to get together to align where and when we can target this messaging. When I had the superintendent, meet the superintendent event on the 21st, if you recall, I stuck a few of the slides from the toolkit in there to keep the common message going, and to make sure that whenever we have an opportunity to get in front of parents, we're bringing in those messages and that it's consistent over and over again. So hopefully the results for us will be that through this collective work that we're doing between the phone calls, the messaging, hearing it in the school system, hearing it on the ball field from your coach because he knows that you've been out and we're saying the same thing, or other work groups, that eventually those numbers will come down because there's shared understanding about the impact of that.
Teresa?
Have you also thought about the cell phone use in schools?
We have not, but I will say that in the Youth Mental Health Working Group, the topic of social media, bullying, and increased anxiety and depression has come up many times from both parents and community members in the group. So it's not been something we have talked about specifically, but that's been, social media certainly has come up as a concern.
Richard has a question. Then Michelle.
I just want to say that I've been part of this group since its inception, working with the absentee group. The awareness is one of the key things that we were focusing on. The key concept here was we put in a lot of work as to find out what created this and why it was created. And to your point about the various medical appointments we have, it is an issue that they're done principally in the morning. The other thing that played an important part was the cultural differences. I remember Emmanuel coming in and explaining the culture that when people come here from different countries, what they're accustomed to, not necessarily ours. So there was a lot of time that was spent going into the different causes that would do this so that they could identify them and then essentially go out and, I want to say attack them, but then to make the awareness as to what you should do and how you can prevent this. I remember one of the sessions we had was to try to engage in conversation with the medical providers so that they could be a little bit more flexible and make these appointments, outside of the school district. But there was a lot of research work that went into particularly when I was involved, it was the absentee group. And I'm sure the other two categories were done as much. But it's awareness, and that's why I asked you before to explain how we get this message out. And then work with, it was important that the Board of Education at that time, prior to Carol, Kevin Waltons had attended these meetings. And it was important that we had the representations of the district as well as the mayor from the city representing so that we had a buy-in to this particular program. And it's apparently successful, but it's going to take some time. Thank you.
Michelle?
I just want to comment too, I'm on the committee, Melissa and Rich, and it's been really a great experience. The only thing I don't see that was mentioned that we did actually spend a lot of time on is incorporating the student and getting the student to be excited about being in school. So that has to do with that character that Emmanuel helped to design and the different stages that the character goes through. And I know you're looking to kind of reinforce that through social media. But also what was exciting was bringing in the Board of Ed to try to help with that communication or trying to assist in what we're talking about, medical concerns or, trying to get to and from school and how possibly, we can use students that maybe are doing, have a lot of doctor's appointments as part of their, life and how we can reinforce that, how we can help with that communication. So it's really been a great program. I know we were, I think, at 24% absenteeism after COVID. Last I heard, we were around 17. So I just obviously feel that this is a great program and it's going to get out to the community. So thank you.
Julie?
I have another question. Based on data driven, can we tell, probably for next year, can we tell the difference what is sickness for the kids, right? Because I know that prior to now, everybody did not send their kids either they have cold or, so it was based on that data that most of them took absenteeism. Now those numbers should be coming down. Are we going to be able to see the difference? Because I know that now parents say, oh no, my kids just have a flu, I don't want to send any. So can we compare those to what used to be pre-pandemic and post-pandemic based on a specific sickness without the pandemic numbers?
Yeah, I'll put it over to the superintendent.
Yes, definitely. So part of the messaging and in the training in the toolkit is a recognition that, you know, there was a point in time where the child had a sniffle in the COVID during the pandemic. No, keep them home. And so we're trying to now break that cycle of the, you know, with the opposite, like, come on, get your shoes on, we're going to school, you're fine, unless there's a fever or there's something very definitive. So it's really about the mindset and sort of the retraining around the school attendance. And also we have some hot spots, kindergarten, right? Some people, parents don't always see that as a mandatory thing, but it does have an effect on children. Ninth grade is another hot zone. 12th graders tend to also be out a lot. So we're working on that, and we certainly have pre and post pandemic data, and a lot of the work that we're doing now is getting back to pre-pandemic levels. That's the goal. Let's at least get back there and then set some new goals once we get there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I would just say I would love to look at disaggregated data as well around the reason for individual absences, because we have been targeting our work based on the age groups that the superintendent mentioned, as well as different schools that have different trends. And so one thing that the group is really interested in is looking how many absences are due to illness versus some other reason. So that's something we would love to consider in the future. Thank you.
Any other questions? Melissa, on behalf of the board, I certainly appreciate you coming and doing your presentation.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board Standing Committee, I'm going to start with sites and facilities.
We're scheduled to have our first sites and facilities meeting on October 17th. It'll be on site at Danbury High School, and we will be having a kind of interactive meeting where we're going to take a tour of all the improvements that have been done over the summer and talk about plans moving forward and what's on the agenda for Danbury High School. So, hope to see everybody there.
Thank you. Community relations.
So I don't have any update from the last meeting, but our next meeting is tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Please do.
Thank you. Policy.
Who's the meeting tomorrow?
Can I add something to the curriculum committee? Just for keeping a little update. I was asked to the chair, Katie, just to see if we can meet on some of the housing authority, just to give you an update. They are looking into some of their facilities to see when we as a board might be able to go and introduce ourselves, like get to know each other, mingle up, and get to know the community. So once I have the update, I will pass it on to Katie, and from there on she will be able to give you more information. Thank you.
Policy.
So we had a meeting last week, I believe, and we talked about a couple policies that we'll see on tonight's action items. Our next meeting will be November 6th.
Okay, thank you. Finance?
Oh, it's November 6th.
For policy.
Thank you.
The next Finance Committee meeting is October 16th at 6 p.m.
Curriculum?
So we just had a curriculum committee meeting tonight. We learned about the district accountability index, and we'll be going over that as more information comes out from the state.
And thank you for the presentation of the curriculum committee tonight.
Great meeting.
Well done.
Gladys, I don't know if this is the appropriate time or further down, but Kate and I are both PTO reps for Moore Street School, and they sent us some information.
Okay, good.
Okay. So Moore Street School sent an email to Kate and I, and they're having their annual Halloween festivities on Harvest, sorry, thank you, on October 18th, and they're having a trunk or treat that same night in the parking lot at 7:30 to 7:45, and they're looking for people to come and do their trunk and hand out candy, because they don't have enough volunteers for that. So they would like us to pass it on to the Board of Ed. If anyone is available on October 18th from 7:30 to 7:45, let us know. We can get you in touch with the folks. 15 minutes until, yeah. That's the trunk or treat part of the meeting, yeah. We can get you in touch with the folks at Moore Street.
Thank you. This is not a standing committee, but we both serve on the committee. Instead of putting it at the end, I'm gonna, we are PTO representative, Juanita and myself. So we have decided that 1 month she's gonna do the report and I'm gonna do the report. So Juanita, it's your turn.
And I thought for the first meeting that would be our chairperson, but that has changed. The citywide PTO met on Monday, October 7th. We had the honor of hearing the presentation, hearing the presentation on the Danbury Collective, so it was great to hear it again this evening at the board meeting. Many of the schools reported out: Danbury High School, Broadview Middle School, AIS, Shelter Rock, Westside Middle School, all reported out the events that they are having in their upcoming events. And the superintendent reported also to citywide PTO. And we want to, when we talk about keeping or speaking the same language, delivering the same message, every time I get a chance, I try to use our theme, which is the best urban district in the state of Connecticut. And so that was put out there at citywide PTO also. Also, one of the things that the superintendent mentioned, which I think was very important for the parents to hear, is that we are beginning to move into a reset mode. And so that's district-wide, and the pandemic is past, and how do we move forward? The citywide PTO is looking for suggestions for guest speakers to speak at their meetings. If you have any suggestions, please let myself or Chairperson Cooper know, and we will pass that along. We did report regarding the board that we are participating in trainings. We reminded them about the upcoming budget season, and also emphasizing, as we have in our board meetings, is to have our parents and students review the district's code of conduct. It's just really important. Again, that same message continues to go out. Our chairperson thanked the Danbury parents and, of course, the school PTOs for continuing to engage in the success of our public students.
Thank you, Juanita. Anyone have any questions?
How do you get an invite to, it used to be anybody, I mean, when they were done on Zoom, any board member could attend the meeting in addition to the superintendent and a designated board person who was assigned to it. But times have changed, and maybe it was COVID, and they restricted it with the Zoom. It was my understanding just the PTO members or heads as well as the board chair. So how do other board members who want to participate in it take advantage of the information relative to
I also discussed that with Tim, and he said that he was right now, he was directing his, as far as opening it up, the people that are on the list, to invited people, that's who he was inviting on the meeting. He does not open his meetings up, even though, I will give him a call and see has things changed. But the people that are there that sits around the table are people that Juanita and I was selected by this board to sit on that committee. Okay? So if outside people wanna, if you wanna tell them call, give them a call.
Okay,
I
thanks.
can't undo what he has in mind to do. Action items. Action item B. A.
I make the motion that the Board of Education pursuant to Public Act 24-45 authorize the establishment of a non-lapsing account where a year-end budget surplus may be deposited, not to exceed 2% of the operating budget, with your superintendent and the chief financial officer as authorized signers to the account in accordance to the public law, the Public Act.
Motion made by Al. Could I hear a second?
Second.
Any questions? Any comments? Yes.
Me?
Yes.
I'm obviously in favor of this. One of the two questions I have. One, should there be a policy on this issue? I'm not sure whether you should or shouldn't. But I do suggest strongly that there be a procedure relative to the operation of this particular bank account, its internal controls, and also my suggestion would be that the sums of money that we're talking about should be invested not in speculative stuff, but you have fairly safe investments of money markets and CDs, so that they be invested and you don't lose the money on it. But very important to have a procedure relative to the accountability, the accounting on this, etc.
Kate?
I just want to echo the idea that we have sort of an internal mechanism for monitoring those funds. I want to make sure we have, I want to echo Mr. Janelli's comments that we have an internal mechanism to monitor those funds and how they're going to, and how they're going to be earmarked if that money is going to be used in a particular budget cycle. Thank you.
Mike, did you have anything additional? Teresa?
I'm concerned about the gentleman at the last board meeting, he said to earmark the funds, which I find correctly. That's a good idea. But I don't want to see open purchase requisitions going into the next fiscal year. That's what I'm concerned about. That those funds, say it comes from last year's budget, and we have left over and you put it into the account, does that go under the new budget? Or is it still under the old budget PR or PO? That's my concern. I don't want to see, I would like to see the books closed in a timely fashion, not something dragging on through the year.
Michael, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so it is, I guess, not practical to have all the POs closed at year end just because there are certain items that are open that we might not have received an invoice for. Those typically do get closed out in a timely fashion, but the surplus that we're talking about would be above and beyond any of the POs or encumbrances that are there. This would be above that. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have the surplus at all. We would use every township that's in, of course.
Thank you.
Okay, I think just so that I'm correct in my understanding though, that amount, once it goes into a non-lapsing, meaning non-expiring account, that it's not necessarily part of the budget coming up for the year. It's an account that money can sit in that account and be used in subsequent budget years. So it's not necessarily tied to this budget year. You can use it during this budget year if you need to, but if you don't and you use it 3 years down the road, that's okay as well. That's what I'm looking for, Mike's headshake on.
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
thank you.
So in other words, we have $1 left over from last year, and you could put it in the account.
Up to 2%.
So it doesn't go back to the city.
Correct.
Thank you.
One,
Having sat in a financial workshop with Kate just a couple of days ago, this actual topic came up. And a couple of the suggestions that they had was to make a decision whether it's going to be a separate account or an existing account. Just, it seems like it's going to be separate onto this. They also suggested that you have something in your policies to align with that actually outlines what Rich was saying, accountability, who signs, that sort of thing. And they also suggested that so that we are transparent and upfront, that we also make sure that we let our city council understand that this is not extra money. So when we ask for funding. And so when we talk about earmarking it, some of the suggestions that some of the presenters gave was have some kind of examples of how that money might be used. And one of the suggestions is every district is struggling with the amount of money that we use for outplacing some of our special ed students, and they thought that's a wonderful idea that you have that backup fund. You never know when that expense, which is sometimes very high and unexpected, might come up.
yes.
We had, was it $700,000 left over in this last budget? Is that money going to go into the account?
715, yes.
Do we have earmarked for anything?
Not the 715.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Lee.
My suggestion would be, as part of this write-up procedures, is that the board be presented with monthly financial statements to include this. So your financial statements would include your operational accounting, your grant accounting, and then another accounting for this particular fund. So all of the monies that come under our purview are segregated, highlighted, segregated by its type, and you have the reporting and accountability for it. And it just makes it for a clean presentation for that. But that could be done in the descriptions of the process and the procedures, how you can do this.
Well, I'm sure our financial person in charge have already thought about that, and the superintendent. Yes, Jude.
I just want to make sure to understand, that 2% can fluctuate up or down depending on how much will be the budget, right? Or not. Because if we say like 2 years from now, the budget goes up, and let's say we use that 2% for any reason, we put the money back, but doesn't necessarily have to be the same amount that was prior, right? It will be 2% based on the surplus that we have
Of the budget number.
of the budget for that year.
That's right, Judy.
Okay.
And that will change when you.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Can those funds be used, those, I don't want to say extra because everybody just think that the extra money is just hanging around us longer. If we need additional people in certain places, can we use that money to put people in those places?
To the best of my knowledge, it's not limited.
Okay.
Can I just mention just one thing? You know, we do have part of the, you know, the expense of moving into the new academy is still yet a bit unknown, right? You have whatever doesn't get accounted for in an FF&E package, we'll know what gets kicked back, what gets accepted through the state. We're gonna have to fund that library, get that media center filled with books, and so there's gonna be some expenses as we move in there. So, there's a lot of probably great reasons and things that we can spend the money on, but my guess is that some of that will go to helping us get the doors open on the Danbury High School West.
Teresa?
Can we move that money that the city's been holding for us for the last few years, that extra money that was spent, or was not spent, and we returned it to the city? Can we move that into that account?
No, that much better.
No, look.
I don't think they'll give it up that easy.
The current surplus we're talking about at the city.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Motion on the floor has been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Action item B. Michelle.
STA of Connecticut, Inc., Student Transportation Agreement. Motion that the Board of Education approve the agreement with STA of Connecticut, Inc. to provide student transportation from the first day of school in the school year 2025 through 2026 through and including the last day of school in the school year 2029 through 2030 in accordance with 24-176.
Motion made by Michelle. Second. Seconded by Lauren. Any questions concerning the motion? Yes, Mr. Janelle.
Again, I'd like to state a well job done by Ed and Mike in the data that was presented several meetings ago supporting this particular contract. The financial data, when I went through it, the cumulative effect of these increases, if I remember correctly, was like $3.3 million over the course of the 5 years, and the cost of those 10 additional buses was $786,000. What was also interesting, in the array of 18 different districts that were provided, there were only 4 districts, and when I looked at them, they were very small districts, that had rates that were better than ours. So it was an excellent job in negotiation for this particular contract. So again, congratulations to the negotiating team, whoever they were, to get this contract done.
Any other questions? Motion made by Michelle. Seconded by Al.
I seconded it.
Lauren.
Sorry.
Lauren.
I'm deaf.
Lauren seconded. All in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes so carried. Okay. Teresa, action item C.
Policy 3542.43- food service charging policy. Motion that the Board of Education accept for first reading policy 3542.43- food service charging policy as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with 24-177.
Motion made by Teresa, could I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kate. Any question concerning that policy? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes so have.
It is.
Mr. Janelli, Richard, action item D.
Compensation, central office exempt staff, non-bargaining unit employees. A motion that the Board of Education accept for the first reading policy 4140.2/4240.2. Compensation, central office exempt staff, brackets, non-bargaining unit employees, close brackets, as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with 24-178.
Motion made by Mr. Janelli, could I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Julie. Any question concerning this policy? Yes, Juanita.
I would like to state that I will be submitting wording and recommending a change in this policy. I will have that at the next policy meeting on November 6th. If there's any board member who is interested in that area, please plan to attend.
Kate?
So procedurally, what has happened is that the policy passed out of committee and was recommended for a first read to the board. And now this evening is up for a vote for first read by the board. The only way at this point to make adjustments would be if the consensus on at the board level here was to withdraw the motion and then kick this policy back to the committee level.
My understanding is it's a first reading, so the board can accept this for a first reading. You still have a policy committee at whenever you have it. But what I'm saying is any board member they have an idea or something they want to change, they still have the privilege to do so.
Correct.
So they can do it at the committee meeting or bring it at the board meeting.
So I guess my question is if board member Harris wants to bring it to the policy committee, which I'm totally amenable to, we have to make sure that that appears on the agenda for that policy committee meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood, because honestly, this is the first time on the board that we've actually talked about having a change after the first read to a policy. So I just want to make sure I'm following correct.
We're here to accept this motion as a first reading. My clear understanding. At any time, any policy is brought before the board member, it's not the final reading. There can be adjustments made. Am I right, Kim? So we're here tonight to accept the recommendation from the policy committee to accept this as a first reading only. Yes.
I attended the policy meeting on this, although I wasn't a committee member, but part of the conversation was, and I think at the end, was if there was questions relative to language. I think it was asked that they forwarded to the chairperson, which I did. So with that consideration, would those variations on the theme of language changes, would that be discussed at your next policy meeting based on the information you got from the different members?
If I did not get anything in writing from anybody on this particular policy, so if I do, then I'm happy to add it to the agenda. But I need to have it in advance to make sure it shows up on the agenda in order to follow procedurally what we're doing.
Saying that, I sent you my wording on that. I already said it, that's okay.
Okay, I don't know if I received it. Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman,
okay,
so-
fine. So I was just wondering about the process on when it would be the wording. And then how do you resolve something like that? I mean, if I could have a different wording or different language or different thought process than any other board member of Juanita or anybody else who wants to make a change. So is that then discussed at the committee meeting amongst committee members to then decide what you want to select?
So if it appears on the agenda and folks have submitted stuff in writing to me, then I will absolutely bring forward all the variations that are given so that we can have a conversation about it and sort of discuss, what the consensus of the committee is, and then move forward from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Michelle.
I just wanted to mention, this is one of the policies that wasn't required, right? This is something that's proposed.
Correct.
So, thanks.
Motion, very clear, to accept the first reading. And then it goes back to committee, if I'm mistaken.
So typically, and this is just my own experience here, so if I'm incorrect, please correct me, but after it goes for first read, it does not go back to the committee unless somebody requests specifically to bring it back to.
Well, they're doing that. So,
Yes.
I'm trying to get through the first reading. So there's a motion on the floor to accept this as the first reading.
Can I ask questions?
Right, so I think if it has to go back to them, then we can't approve it, right?
No, it can be approved. I just want to clarify, just so that I
We
make
have
sure
to amend
my
the
understanding is
motion.
correct. The motion's on the table, it's been seconded. If we approve the first read for this, it will not necessarily be discussed at, and this is just a general conversation. It would not necessarily go back to the policy committee unless, like Ms. Harris said, she would like to bring it up for conversation at the next policy meeting, and we'll certainly do so.
We can bring those concerns back at the next board meeting and discuss them because it's gonna be the second reading where we're going to approve
The revised.
No, I think you have.
Okay.
I'm pressed to think, I'm just sitting here thinking about when we've had this situation before, and it's been quite a while. So what I would recommend is that you can certainly accept for the reading today, the policy as written, and then you may, at the second reading, entertain further discussion about changes to that policy that may come up in the policy committee meeting. I think what you're struggling to figure out is where is the forum in which you're going to have that discussion. So you could have it here in this forum on the second reading, which I think would take the form of a motion to amend it or a motion not to approve it at all, to go to your point about whether it's a mandatory policy or not. But that I think would happen after this first reading. So if you want to go back to the policy committee for guidance on that and have them make a recommendation at the second reading, I think you could do that. But I also think it would be appropriate for you to make a motion to amend it at the second reading as well.
So perhaps the easiest way to do this is for me to make a motion to actually remove this motion put before the board. To remove it and send it back to the committee for first reading.
You could, I think it might be more expeditious, though, to read it the first time here, then send it back to policy and have it come back. Otherwise, if you do the way you're suggesting, withdraw it, go back, you're gonna go back to that policy committee, hopefully it makes it on this agenda, maybe not, and then you've got another first read and another second read. I think it might just be more expeditious to
Just want to make sure that we don't run into anything procedure-wise that says, oh, sorry, you accepted the first reading, and therefore, you gotta move along with the first reading that you accepted.
It's official.
It's
It's
official.
the first reading,
So
but
I,
we have not accepted the second.
and I understand that it slows the process down, but if I'm not mistaken, that we have until the budget, the presentation of the budget, to make sure that we have all of our ducks in with this policy.
So if we're in order to accept this as the first reading. Okay? And
I'd like to, just tell me if I'm out of order, I'd like to make a motion to remove this first motion of the first reading and send it back to policy committee. Review and resubmit as a first reading.
I don't know that there is a motion to withdraw. I think you would vote, right?
Right.
There's a motion for a first read. You vote, all those in favor of the first read say aye, all those not say nay, and the motion would then fail. But I don't think there would be a motion to withdraw.
Are we clear? I'm too tired.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
I don't want to beleaguer this, like, and I apologize if I'm approaching this the wrong way. But I just want to make sure I understand. Just a hypothetical. Let's say that the motion carries this evening, we look at the first read. My intention, based on what you said this evening, is to bring it back to the policy committee for further conversation. Do I understand correctly, Kim, that if that happens and we go back to a conversation at the policy committee level and there are changes made, either we withdraw the policy or we make adjustments in the policy, if it was to come back to the board, would it be for a first read that time or a second read?
I think it depends. If you're going to completely eliminate it, I think that's a different issue. If you're going to change a sentence, then I think what you would do is come back, and when it comes up for the second read, someone would move to amend the policy with the following language: upon recommendation of the policy committee, or not recommendation of the policy committee. You know, your role, I think, as the policy committee is advisory, and that once you get that motion here, that part of the province of the whole board would be to tweak the content of it if you don't pass it as read.
Okay. Thank you.
Teresa.
So if we vote on it to do the first read, but do we need another vote then to send it back to the policy? Or to say we want to amend it? Nothing, just say the first read.
They have to bring it, I mean, Juanita would have to bring it back to me to review with the policy.
And I have that request.
To be added to the agenda.
Yeah, but when's the second read? Isn't that usually at the next meeting?
The next meeting.
Yeah, and the policy's in November. So it's after.
We didn't have to delay the second read. There's nothing saying that has to be on that next agenda, so, given what Juanita said this evening, I'm inclined to just say, we're not gonna put it on that next agenda, we're gonna have our policy meeting and talk about it again. Okay.
And I'm not no lawyer, and thank you, Kim. And, you know, I've sit on enough committees to sort of, you know, we've had this happen before. And I think the most way to follow this is to accept the first reading, and then the committee can take up the extra other things that's going into it. So, the motion was made by Richard, seconded by who?
Julie.
Julie. All in favor? Do I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes so carried. Thank you. Superintendent report.
Okay, I'm trying to move through. I'm sensing the room here. Okay, so we already had a Danbury Collective presentation. Again, thank you very much, Melissa, for that. And I'd like to, I'm going to skip around a little bit, and I'm going to ask Kim to talk about the Connecticut Innovation Cohort Partnership. As you know, we've been, it's part of the board goals, and our goals collectively is to, you know, think about and make improvements in our retention efforts and our staffing. It's been an ongoing discussion that we've been having. We had an opportunity to join an innovation cohort partnership, and I would like for Kim to talk a little bit about what that entails and why we might benefit by that one.
So, sorry, just lost my notes here. So we have joined what's called the Connecticut Innovation Cohort. Our partner in this is the Center for Public Research and Leadership, and that's a group that comes out of Columbia. And their charge, this Center for Leadership and basically strategic consulting, is to work, they work with public boards of education on different kinds of leadership challenges, leadership goals, and they have crafted this two-year program, a two-year cohort, and we are part of the second cohort called the Connecticut Innovation Cohort. Last year's cohort focused on some issues around improvement of school design, like fully year school, for example, or how to deal with retention improvement problems by certification changes. So they were advisory on things like how can we ease some of the certification rules, particularly in shortage areas. So they focused in that first innovation cohort on those topics. They have put us into their second cohort now with nine other districts. And part of our challenge, what we want to really work on with them is the recruitment and retention strategies. And their focus is to try to help all of us in the cohort to identify obstacles to recruiting and finding teachers, particularly in shortage areas, and to try to craft meaningful solutions
to those problems. So we've met with them for the first time already to kind of sketch out where we are, where we see ourselves as a district, and the next steps with them, and I've been working with their director, is to identify people in the district to go ahead and start talking about some of the challenges and obstacles we found, particularly to recruitment of teachers. It is a really nice fit for us in our priorities with our increasing educator diversity plan. It is also a really nice synergy for us on trying to find more special ed and para educators, special teachers and para educators in particular. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use them in the first step, which is our gathering artifacts. You heard me talk a couple weeks ago about we're going out into our schools and we are gathering artifacts on hiring. What kinds of things do you do when you interview? Is there a demo lesson? What do you do in the demo lesson? What kinds of questions do you ask? Who sits on the committees? How do you screen applicants? All of those artifacts are starting to come in now into my office where they're being warehoused by my newest member. I think I mentioned to you Alex Pena, who came to replace Chelsea Radigan, who left us a while ago. He is starting to gather a lot of these materials. We're then going to use the partners that we have in Columbia to not only look at what we've retained, what we've gathered, but also how can we infuse those with some other materials that will help us to build not only a stronger hiring process that focuses attention on shortage areas and diversity, but also how can we kind of work with the other members of the cohort to identify what some of the obstacles are that we've all been having. So that we're in the real infancy stages of this, we're in the getting to know you stage, and we have managed to connect the Columbia folks with some district leaders in our group, and they're now starting to talk with how can we support, how can we best help support this work. So you'll hear, I think, regular updates from us periodically on how we're doing with that, but it's going to be right now we're in the audit and assessment stage. They're looking at our structures, they're looking at our staffing, they're looking at our numbers, and they're helping us to identify obstacles.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Sorry, Gladys.
Do we have other districts using this cohort?
Yeah, so there was I think we're like Stratford, I don't know if Norwalk is in it, New Haven was involved in it. I have to go back and get the list, but we had an interview for it. So I had to interview and go through a process to see what our level of investment is in this type of work. And so you really kind of self-imposed, right? They're helping us scrutinize our own processes, and then in return, we'll be able to offer our suggestions where we're struggling. That collective information gets used in an advisory capacity to departments that deal with the certification at the state level, teacher preparation programs. So they're helping us, but we're also feeding them sort of the big ticket items that we need moved at the state level to make some changes. So it's kind of a mutually beneficial partnership. Okay, moving right along. The next one, I have to pull up my notes. Mike could not be here tonight, he had a family matter. But we, we've been working and he's been establishing some stronger relationships with Boehringer. I think the last time that he was here, he mentioned about the STEM days that have been organized. In addition to that, through Boehringer, we've onboarded Big Brothers, or will be onboarding Big Brothers and Big Sisters. That they have, they'll be helping us with approximately 10 students, so it's not a big capacity initiative, but they're mentors from Boehringer who will come in and work with our kids during the week through Mentor Flex. They'll be one-on-one, we'll do some career initiatives, and they'll get kids excited about careers in science and STEM fields. So we're excited about that. It's kind of a small step to growing it out, but it's a big brother, big sister partnership using Boehringer professionals as mentors. So next time Mike comes in, maybe we'll have him talk a little bit more about that. Those are my notes from him. And then the last piece tonight is really just to give this group a little bit of a status update on the audit. So I will turn it over to Mike to just give us a brief summary of where we're at, please.
Yes, thank you. I'll try to be as concise as possible. The 2022 audit we had been working on last year when I started. I'm excited to say we've completed. As far as DPS is concerned, there was only one note, I guess you'd say, that the auditors had, and that was just acknowledging the fact that there was a data breach that impacted the district, but other than that, there was no findings of any significance. The 2023 audit is currently underway. There are 3 parts to the audit. One is the audit of the EFS, or the OED 001. There is the single audit, and then there's the audit of the city's financials. The EFS audit for 2023 was actually already performed, so that's already been done. The audit of the single audit, the state single audit, is currently underway. We met with the auditors today. It's a joint effort between DPS and the city. DPS has approximately 61% of that audit submitted, completed. And we're working with the auditors for those last items that they're going to ask for so that they can test. Many of them are salary items that are outstanding, which take a little bit of time to pull. It's a little bit cumbersome. The other 2 audits, or the other audit I should say, is kind of broken up into 2 sections. The first is the planning section, and then the next is the field work. And while a lot of the work can be done contemporaneously, most of the work is done planning and then it is moved into the field work. So for planning as of today, we have just about 70% of the requests in. Some of those requests come back with subsequent requests that we fill on an as-needed basis. And then once that's complete, we'll start on the field work. We actually have already started on the field work and fulfilled about 20% of it. The city was gracious enough to give us some assistance. Joanne, who's here with us last month from the city, who's been doing a fantastic job there, getting their audit stuff done, has been helping us just about every afternoon here to try to catch up since we were a little bit down staff in the beginning of the year in July.
Teresa?
Didn't the city appropriate $200,000 to help us get more help for you?
Yeah, so we are utilizing CLA. CLA is an audit firm that audits many other districts. We're using them in a consultancy capacity to help us along. There was talk about perhaps some temp work, but everyone at the table didn't feel like that was the best because temps take a very long time to get them up to speed. We thought that the best approach, including the mayor, thought the best approach would be to utilize CLA in more of their assets, which we currently are. And that's part of the additional appropriation.
Julie, then I come back, okay?
When you think that we could have like a time frame to be done with all the audits that we have as outstanding audits, and moving forward, how can we, I know that you have a shortage on personnel, or how we can prevent from falling behind on audits, how can we prevent this in the future from happening again?
Yeah, 2 great questions. So the first one, the 2023 audit, is slated for December timeframe, and that was, I guess, talked about and agreed upon by RSM, who's the actual auditor, and us and the city. Once that audit is complete, they go into the third portion of the audit, which is their reporting. So they issue us a report with any significant findings. Once that's completed, we'll move into the 2024 audit. Based upon this year, I would say that it's going to be about 5 months would be my estimate for the 2024 once we begin it. The second part to your question is how do we avoid this going forward? I think now that RSM has been our auditor for quite some time, I will have 3 years of audit under my belt for DPS, and we are now currently staffed with 2 additional people that we didn't have in the beginning. But in many places that I've worked, part of the role that I sit in now is making sure that as we perform the work, as the year goes on, we've identified things that we know the auditors are going to look for. The this is, not going to be our first rodeo. So starting to prepare that documentation before the audit is even discussed, having that ready for the audit so that when they do have these requests, we're not scrambling around and trying to run reports and back into numbers. They've already been saved in place waiting so that we can just hand it to the auditors. That's a significant time savings.
Teresa?
Are they still doing Zoom for these meetings, requests?
Yeah, and a lot of the audit firms, it's not just RSM, but a lot of them are similar to us. The accounting industry, the audit industry is finding it very hard to find staff. So one of the things that is attractive is being able to work remotely. So they do have staff, RSM specifically, but other firms as well, all around America. So it's very hard to get them in. I know last year that was one of the things that John commented on, and RSM said that they would be happy to try to accommodate and get someone here if we were willing to pay the expense. So it's kind of a moot point.
Thank you.
Okay, just one last tidbit here. So we did mention about the donation for the scoreboard, but Danbury High School will have the dedication to the scoreboard for the homecoming game on October 25th. And so the dedication will be at 6:50 before the game. And so you'll be getting an invitation for that from either Dan or Kara Palpan, we're still working that out. And there'll be a reception for the family who donated at 5:30. I'm not quite sure if we're all going to that or not. So I'll get some clarity, but most certainly the dedication at 6:50. Okay?
Thank you. Mr. Morrow used to work for Union Savings?
I believe so. The scoreboard, yes. Sorry, dedication to the scoreboard.
I think that's the game against West Hill.
No.
Bring it up.
Are you serious? Won't be there.
I won't be here because I'll be in Kentucky with 42 kids.
Oh, and I wanted to do the tailgate. He's not going to be here.
I'm good.
We need a board member for an expulsion hearing tomorrow. We need one. If one can't do it, the other can do it. I need two people to sort of,
You're catching me on my traffic.
So we have a maybe, and maybe one other if the maybe can't show.
Yeah, I would go with somebody else. I will be the backup of the backup if I have to. I'm at work, so it's going to be tough.
Yes.
I'm not gonna be able to make it.
4 o'clock. We can do it by phone just to help out. We have two people.
I just can't. I go from doctor's office at 3:30. Yeah.
I'm gonna do my best, Clyde, to do that.
That one is with a translator, right? Yeah, and that one, that hearing you need a translator, right? So that one I extend a little bit.
I have something. Or is that tonight?
No, that was.
No, it's
4 o'clock, and it's gonna be done by 6.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Just let me know. If Michelle can't do it, just let me know.
Yeah, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And Louisa.
Doctor's office.
My report is very brief. Remember, next week, October the 15th, at 6 o'clock. Okay? As we get together as board members, please check your emails. Please check your emails, okay? Read the material, and I know sometimes we all are working and we have other duties. Try to glance over your material, like I do sometimes 2:30 in the morning, and go over your material, okay? And again, I'm going to stress that it's very important that we work together as a unit. We're not here to bash anyone, make anyone look like they don't know what they're doing. We are a team to work together and to make this district the best district it can be. Okay? That's all I have to say.
I make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Al, second by